Okay, for this video, we're going to look at the Blink flowchart, where we're making a flowchart to make our microbit blink some LEDs on its screen. So what we want to do first is create our flowchart that will express how we want that microbit to work. So our first block that we're going to need on our flowchart is our oval, and that's to tell us where we're going to start our code. Then we're going to have some sort of input for making our microbit work. So we need to activate it somehow. In this case, I chose to press the A button. You can choose to press the B button or the A and B button at the same time. Whichever one you want will work for this block. And notice we're using a rectangular block because those are actions. So we're going to see something happen or do something. So once we press that A button, we're going to need to have the microbit ask, should it repeat? So either that's a true or false statement. So when we use our block of code, it's going to have a true or false option for that. So if it's false, it's simply going to end the code. It's not even going to do anything else. But we don't want that. We want it to continue. We want it to be able to repeat, blink on and off. So we're going to go the true route. So we next need to tell the microbit to turn on an LED. So it flashes. The next block that we put in after we tell an LED to turn on the LED array is not to turn it off, because if we have the LED turn on and immediately turn off again, we're not going to see anything happen. So what we want to do here is we want to tell the microbit to wait a certain amount of time before going on to the next step. So we're going to use a block called pause. Pause is going to have it wait until it goes on to the next step. So it's measured in milliseconds. So here I have 2,000 milliseconds, which is equal to 2 seconds. Milli meaning thousandth, so thousandth of a second. So 2,000 milliseconds would be 2 seconds. So if we want 1 second, we would put 1,000. If we want half a second, we put 500, so on and so forth. So it's important to make sure you put in the correct number here. So we've just told the microbit to turn on the LED and then pause for 2 seconds until moving on to the next step, which would then be to turn off the LED. And the same thing is going to apply for turning off the LED. We need to have it wait a certain amount of time before turning the LED back on. So on my code, I told it to pause for half a second before going on to the next step, which, if you notice the path it follows, it goes back to should it repeat. It needs to ask itself, should it repeat this code again? And we're going to put our code in as true. You'll see this happen here when I go to the microbit page, and we'll actually program this. So it should repeat. So it's going to go true. It's going to keep on continuing through these 5 blocks of code until we turn it off, until we unplug it. So if we go to the microbit site, and I'm going to put my flowchart over on the other screen so I can see, and I can use that as my guide. I'm going to get rid of these blocks here because I don't need those. That's not necessary for this. I want to have the A button activate my code. So I'm going to go to Input, and I want the A button to be pressed to activate the code. So the next step is then to tell it to repeat. So if we go to the loops drawer, there is a block of code called while, and this will create a loop that will continuously do whatever's inside of that block of code. So we can change that from true to false, false to true, and in this code, if we have it true, anything inside here will always repeat. It will always do that. It will never stop doing that. So if we use false, it will never do what's inside of this code. So I don't know of much use for the false, uh, but the true is definitely useful for things you always want to have repeat. So that's why we use that rhombus shape and asked it should it repeat because of the way we're coding it here. So we're going to go and then tell it to repeat, putting together the on and off, turn LEDs on and turn LEDs off. So I'm using the show LEDs block of code in the basic drawer. And so we're going to turn on some LEDs. Doesn't matter what we turn on. We need to grab the pause, which is also in the basic drawer, and we can type it and search for it. So we want it to pause, and I said to have it on for 2 seconds, so 2,000 milliseconds. And then I want to turn off, so I grab a show LEDs block, and it should not have any LEDs lit. And then I can go ahead and use another pause, and this time I want 500 milliseconds. Okay, so now when I go and code this, it's going to press the A button. It's going to always run the code that's inside this while block of turning on these LEDs, waiting for 2 seconds, turning off the LEDs, waiting for half a second, and then it comes back up and checks is this true, which it always will be because that's what we have it set as, and it will go through this code until we unplug the microbit. So if we look at the emulator here, it's waiting for me to press the A button. The cross shape stays on for 2 seconds, and then it goes off for half a second, and it will continuously do that. So that's what we're looking for in this short activity.